How's it going, everyone? College Lefty, and in this video I rank the top 20 most valuable players in MLB The Show 23, so let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're starting this video off with one of three starting pitchers in Roki Sasaki, just because personally I value hitters a little bit more than starting pitchers. Yes, this card can absolutely dominate for about 6 innings and keep your opponent scoreless, but I just value hitters more so than starting pitchers, so that's why there's only a few to make the list. But at number 19, we have Dr. Smooth, Michael Brantley. This card is really good, actually. This card has a lot of good power, a great contact, 125 clutch, 125 contact, 125 vision. At number 18, we have Corey Seager, and this card you can pretty much put anywhere in the middle infield, and he's a really good option. Definitely going to have a lot of value because he is a core player. You'll be able to use him throughout the entirety of the game cycle. But with that said, I think there's a couple better set 2 players, and I guess you could also argue that set 2 cards have more value in terms of longevity over set 1 players, but I do have a couple set 1 players, especially at the top of the list, because there still is about 40 days left for those players. But we have Brandon Crawford coming in at number 17. This card is a really solid offensive player. I would definitely use this card. I would rank him in the top 10 in terms of pure hitters, probably. With that middle infield added value to him, he is pretty solid all around. At number 16, we have Sammy Sosa. The only downside to this card is his lower vision. I would say that affects his timing window a little bit. He does have a pretty good swing. And I guess another downside to this card could be the fact that he has 105 contact versus lefties, kind of reverse splits. He hits righties better. A lot of the cards on this list have over 110 contact against both sides, so keep that in mind as well. At number 15, we have Mike Trout. I think this card is still one of the better cards in the entire game. Definitely makes the top 20 in terms of his all-around complete 5-tool aspect. His reaction is a little bit low, but he makes up for it with the speed out there on defense. At number 14, we kind of have more of a pure hitter in Vladimir Guerrero. I think this card plays well above his attributes, especially because he does also get the video game cover athlete boost, so you can use that as well. And if you do have that boost, you can actually get this card into the 80 rating for fielding, so he will be much better, but his reaction will still be pretty low. I guess if you parallel him up a little bit, he'll be in the 60s. But coming in at number 13, we have Stan the Man, Stan Musial. This card to me is one of the best pure hitters in the entire game. Just having the fact that he has 125 contact against both sides, 119 vision with 125 clutch. He has reverse splits. A lot of times people will bring in a lefty to face him, and he is going to hit those guys a little bit better. With that being said, Ken Griffey Jr., one of the lower rated contact players on this list, but also has power and, once again, a 5-tool player coming in at number 12. I still think this card is a really good option. However, he doesn't get the best fielding animations and just seems to play a little bit slower than some of the other cards that are also right around the same speed. But at number 11, we have Derek Jeter. I think this card could definitely be in the top 10. You might have him flipped with a couple other guys that are actually in the top 10. This card, like Corey Seager and Sammy Sosa, has some added value because they are core players. They can be used throughout the game cycle. But I also think there are a couple better options right now at this current moment. And personally, I think Fernando Tatis is more valuable over Derek Jeter just because he also plays outfield. He gets the cover athlete boost just like Jeter. He doesn't have as much contact, but he does have pretty good solid power, maxed out power. Not the highest vision attribute. He doesn't have diamond defense, not yet. But once you parallel him up, he will have diamond defense. I think Francisco Lindor is a little bit better than both of them in terms of value. This card, to me, is one of the best cards in the entire game. Really, all these cards on the list are the best cards in the game, I would say. And there are a bunch of others that aren't on this list. I just wanted to focus on the top 20. But Francisco Lindor is definitely one of my favorite players in MLB The Show, and will be pretty much in any MLB The Show as long as they don't mess up his swing. But at number 8, we have Randy Johnson, the big unit. The second pitcher on the list. I think Randy Johnson is the best starting pitcher in the entire game. Could be definitely the most dominant, just depending on the opponent that you're facing. Of course, every once in a while, there's going to be a couple people that hit him pretty well. But he is by far, I think, the most dominant pitcher. With that being said, at number 7, we have David Wright, probably the best card to rival him out of this set too. We also have Hank Aaron. We also have Mickey Mantle. But David Wright was known as a lefty killer. He usually had pretty much maxed out stats against lefties. And this year, the same thing. definitely a solid card. At number 6, we do have Hammer and Hank Aaron. I think you can make a case that David Wright is a little bit more valuable just because he plays the infield. But I think Hammer and Hank being, a 5-tool outfielder, once you parallel him up to that 4th tier, he's going to have 80 speed. And that's really good, especially with those fielding attributes. And, of course, pretty much maxed out hitting attributes. The card is really solid. The only downside is that he is a push hitter, which affects his timing windows. But with that said, Shohei Ohtani at number 5. This card, to me, is probably the most valuable pitcher in the game just because you can use him as a hitter, you can use him as a DH, you can use him in relief pretty much every single game. He does have full stamina. There's some type of glitch within the two-way players in MLB The Show and Diamond Dynasty to where he is activated and ready to go every single time. And yes, that is a little bit unfair, but he also is not the most dominant pitcher. I would say he's actually behind Roki Sasaki and Randy Johnson, just added value because you can use him every single game. At number 4, we have Babe Ruth. I think this card is usable out there in the outfield. He's not the fastest, but he does have decent attributes, and then, of course, he is perfect at the plate. He is the best, leadoff hitter, power hitter in the middle of your lineup, or if you want to bat him at the end or bring him off the bench, I'm not sure why you would do that, but he could definitely do that as well. At number 3, we have Trey Turner. This card, to me, is one of the most complete players and is always one of the best cards in MLB The Show. He's one of my favorite cards to use and probably could be, at number 2 or number 1 in terms of the best cards for me personally. This card has probably produced the most for me in the leadoff spot, driven in a lot of runs. I've had him for a little bit longer than I've had Chipper Jones and who I have in the first spot, but I think Chipper Jones has to be either 2 or 1 in terms of the best card in the entire game. I think Chipper Jones has some added value because he is, third baseman, shortstop. He also gets the video game boost that a lot of people are using. I think that still is the best boost and will be the best boost for the next 40 days until set 1 players are no longer available. With that said, he'll be probably the most often used wild card position. I think you'll see Chipper Jones, Babe Ruth, Trey Turner in the wild card spot for a while. And then when set 2 rolls around, you'll probably see Mickey Mantle in that wild card spot when set 2 players are no longer available. But I think Mickey Mantle is the best all-around card. He's the most complete player. He has, 99 speed when you parallel him up. Outfield is a very important position. You want a guy that can take away base hits. You want a guy that can get to pretty much everything out there. And Mickey Mantle can also produce, obviously, in the offensive aspect of things. I just wish that his stride animation was a little bit more consistent. Sometimes he will kind of make you late based on the way he steps towards the pitcher when the pitcher is about to throw the ball. But other than that, this is my top 20 most valuable players in MLB The Show 23. Until next time, peace out.